Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Stanley, and along with my wife, Jen, we are the Crumbs in the Philippines. We've been getting a little bit of rain these last couple days and have had to stay inside, and Jen hasn't been feeling that well, but hopefully she'll start feeling well enough for us to get back out on the road here in a few days and get some videos rolling. Anyway, today we're going to talk about startup costs in the Philippines. How much money will you need whenever you land here to get yourself established? So hang loose, and that's what we'll talk about today. See you on the other side. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about startup costs in the Philippines and how much money you'll need whenever you get here to establish yourself and be comfortable moving forward so that you can enjoy that low cost of living lifestyle that's available to us here in the Philippines. Just please bear with me as I'm going to refer to my notes from time to time to make sure that I don't misquote anything. And I'll try to cover this as quickly as possible. And I'll also have a nice slide and chart at the end where you can see all of the numbers that I talk about. So don't worry if you miss it the first time through. You can take a look at it on the list at the end, okay? It's nice to see everybody again, and we're very, very happy that we have so many people watching our videos. It feels really good to know that we're reaching a pretty large audience. And if it's some type of content that you like and enjoy, then please consider subscribing and watching our videos. We really enjoy making them, and it makes it feel worthwhile to see a lot of people getting benefit from it. So thank you very much. Okay, so whenever you're coming to the Philippines, the first cost that you're going to incur is your airline travel. Now, I'm not proud to admit this, but I made a mistake whenever I was coming to the Philippines, and I booked a round trip ticket, which I never used, of course, the return flight, which kind of cost me quite a bit of money. And if I could go back and do it over again, I would book a one-way ticket and then an onward ticket from Manila, Philippines to a close by destination here in Southeast Asia that I could just throw away, and I wouldn't be throwing away $800. I'd really only be throwing away about 150. So anyway, I looked online today at the same website that I used to book air travel for many years, Cheapo Air. And what I found was that if I book out a month in advance from today's date, I can get a one-way ticket from San Francisco to Manila for $731. And it compared a couple of other airlines as well. This was EVA Air. And the price range was $731 to $810 for a one-way ticket. And then I also checked the cheapest flight I could find from Manila was to Bangkok, Thailand. And it was $116 for a one-way ticket. And that would be the throwaway ticket that you had. Now, after you land in Manila, the first thing that you're going to be concerned with is temporary accommodations. You're going to be tired from travel, possible jet lag, and you can expect to pay around 800 to 1,500 pesos a day for fairly reasonable accommodations. They do have places you can stay that are cheaper than that, but they're not up to snuff and not what you'd expect from coming from the West. Jen and I stayed at a Red Doors Inn on the outskirts of Lipa City. It was 800 pesos a day, and it was clean. It was nice, and we had access to public transportation. And there were a lot of eating establishments close by that would deliver to us through the Food Panda app that you can install on your phone. So that's a good place to get started. And we ended up staying in our place at the Red Doors Inn because we knew that we wanted to stay in Lipa. We were there for 5 nights before we actually moved into our first permanent residence. Now, if your destination is not going to be Manila, your final destination will not be in that Metro Manila area, you're going to have to consider travel from Manila to your final destination point. That could be air travel, that could be on a bus, which is very reasonably priced, or you could rent a van, which is what we did. We rented a van that took us from Manila to Lipa City, a private driver. It was just us and Jen's sister and a friend that were helping us get settled in. And that cost us 2,000 pesos to ride from Manila to Lipa. And then, of course, the driver came back to Manila anyway, and he brought Jen's sister and our friend back with him. And they took us right to the Red Doors Inn where we stayed. So you just have to figure out where you're going to actually look for a place to live and then how you're going to get there. If it's on another island, you're going to need to probably book airfare. And it's very reasonable. Anywhere from $70 to $150 will get you on just about any other island here in the Philippines. Bus travel within the actual island of Luzon, very reasonable. From Manila to Lipa City, it's 172 pesos one way per person. That's very cheap for bus travel. And it would be a little bit more if you're going farther out, say up to the Baguio region or down to Bicol or all the way down to Batangas City. A little bit more than 172 pesos, but again, very reasonable. And then whenever you finally find a place where you're going to stay, you like it, you're ready to sign a lease with a landlord, they're always going to ask for 2 months of the price of the rent plus the first month's rent in advance. So, for example, if your rent is 15,000 pesos per month, on day one, you're going to pay the landlord 45,000 pesos. And that 30 pesos of that will come back to you if you complete the terms of the lease and the length of the lease. Or in our case, whenever we terminated our lease, the landlord gave us the last 2 months rent free, which covered the deposit back, which was really nice of them to do that, which means they trusted us to keep the place in good condition those last 2 months. But we did so. They were very nice people. Our landlords actually lived in Toronto, Canada. They were Filipinos, OFWs, that owned the property here in Plantation Meridian where we live. And that worked out really nice for us. All we did was move into another house here in Plantation Meridian whenever our lease expired at our first house. Okay, so if the place that you rent is furnished, which the first place we rented was furnished, you don't have to worry about equipping your house with a refrigerator, a washing machine, should you so desire, a stove, chairs, kitchen table, beds, air conditioning, all of that stuff. The first place we lived in, that was all included. So we didn't have to worry about that. Our rent was 18,000 pesos per month. So we paid 54,000 and moved in, and that was it for us as far as housing. To pay the electricity and the water, we didn't require any deposits for those things. To get our internet started up, we had to pay the first month in advance, which at PLDT is what we had at our first location. It was 1,500 pesos rounded off that we paid, and then that took care of our first month. And then you always pay on that same day every month for the subsequent month's internet service. So most places that you go to in the Philippines will have pretty decent internet, unless you're way out in the province where you don't get a lot of amenities and services anyway. It's kind of a trade-off: beauty and nature and pristine jungle, or more amenities for living in higher populated areas. Now, should you actually need to equip your apartment or house when you first move in, that's going to cost you a few more dollars, okay? I know that when we moved into this house, we bought everything. We bought a refrigerator, kitchen table, 2 recliners, an L-shaped sectional, a 60-inch smart TV, 2 queen-size beds, and an air conditioning unit. And I'm going to list all of those prices that we paid for those items near the end of the video so you can see what it's like. And one thing to remember is there are a ton of places to buy these types of items in the Philippines, especially if you're near a city at least the size of Lipa. We bought all of our stuff at probably 6 different locations. You shop around, find your lowest price, and the difference in prices between stores can be very significant. It just takes a little patience and a little time. You get out and say you buy your beds in Mandawi Foam, which is a very popular store, and then you go over to the Fiesta Mall and buy your kitchen table, which is where you find what you like at the lowest price. And we drove all the way to Tanawan, which is about 18 kilometers from here, and bought our recliners there because they delivered also to our area. We bought our refrigerator at the SNR. We got a really good deal on that. And we bought our L shape at the Fiesta Mall. And then we bought our beds at another furniture store downtown. So you kind of see what I mean. Get out, look around, find your best deals. There are also quite a few local Filipino craftsmen that hand make wooden furniture, rattan furniture, bamboo furniture, some really beautiful stuff. There's some high quality craftsmanship at some of these locations, and you go in and tell the guy what you want, and he'll build it for you. It's very, very reasonable because labor costs in the Philippines, as you'll find out when you live here, are very, very cheap. Stuff that cost an arm and a leg in the US, like, for example, changing the oil in your car. The labor alone is $20, $25 just to change the oil in your car. Whereas here, I changed the oil on my motorcycle. The cost of the oil, the labor, the whole 9 yards, it's like 380 pesos. It's like $7. It's amazing. So I'm going to list those prices, but I'll read through them really quick just to give you an idea. So our 60-inch smart TV, it's a gel, which is a Japanese brand, but 60-inch now, 11,000 pesos. That's a decent price. We got a side-by-side American Home refrigerator and freezer for 20,000 pesos. 2 recliners for 26,000 pesos. They're really nice recliners. You can see them in the video where we talked about the inside of our home and showed a little tour of the inside. The L-shaped sectional that we bought for 9,000 pesos. Our kitchen table with 4 nice chairs was 6,000 pesos. Our table that we have underneath our TV, it's our entertainment center. We paid 1,800 pesos, and we bought that inside the SM grocery store. We just happened to see it one day when we were walking around in there in the furniture section, and they delivered that for free. That was a good deal. 2 queen-size beds, the frames, the mattresses, everything, 9,000 pesos. A window unit AC that we bought at the Robinson store in Tanawan was 6,900 pesos. Very reasonable. And our fans, I have one industrial fan because we use that quite a bit when we're not using the air conditioner. And it's a good sized fan. It blows hard. You'd probably consider it to be a shop fan in the US. And then we have 2 other smaller fans that we use often. And the price of our fans was 4,000 pesos. Now, another thing that you'd consider whenever you first get here as a startup cost would be your transportation. I know that I had planned on buying a motorcycle as pretty soon after I got here. From all of the research that I saw and people that were already vlogging on YouTube and that were well established, kind of studied what they were doing and noticed that the majority of them were driving scooters. And I actually like driving motorcycles. And if you live in an area like Lipa, there's no open road where you get out there and open this thing up and drive 60, 70 miles per hour. Traffic in the area that we live in, your average speed is about 20 miles per hour. And it's the same out on the main road in Lipa. I never, ever get above 40 to 45 kilometers per hour. It's rare. Every once in a while, when I get on the back road going down to Batonga City, I'm the only person on the road. I'll open it up and we'll drive about 90, 95 kilometers per hour. But there's no cars out there. But the big advantage of the scooter is whenever there's traffic jams, and you come across that quite a bit here in the Philippines, is that you can scoot in and out between cars, between the cars and the curb. You can go right to the head of the traffic jam in a jiffy, and it saves you a lot of time. If I was in a car, what would be a 45-minute ride, I can make a 10-minute drive on the scooter. And it's not from driving fast, it's just from being able to maneuver in and out of the cars that are sitting still there. It happens quite frequently, and it works out nicely for me. Now, there are people that would prefer to have a car, and I totally understand that. And at some point in my life, whenever I am too old or unable physically to drive a scooter, then I'll probably buy a car here. And I'm not going to really talk about the price of cars here because it varies so widely, but you can finance a car here, even as a foreigner that you can finance. You pay a down payment if you have an established address where you can come in and produce a bill with your name on it that shows that you live locally. They'll finance a car for you, and then they're fairly reasonable. Car prices here are way cheaper than they are in the USA. Uh, Economy size Toyota, brand new, you can buy for 1.3 million if you get it with not a lot of accessories. But it will have air conditioning, but it won't have all the bells and whistles. And that's a reasonable price. That's like $12,000 or $13,000. And if you finance it over 60 months, you can do the math and figure out what your payment would be, even after you made a down payment. Now, scooter prices are very reasonable. And I paid cash for my Honda Airblade. It was brand new. I bought it off the showroom floor. It was stickered at 100,000 pesos. And since I paid cash, they gave me a 10% discount. And so I only paid 90,000 pesos cash, which is, that's less than 2,000 bucks. And I drove out of there on the Airblade. And with all the taxes and registration fees and insurance, which on your initial purchase, if you buy a new scooter, the dealership handles all of those initial registration costs for you at a fee, of course. And at the time, I was still new in the Philippines, and I figured it would save me a lot of hassle by just paying the dealership to take care of that for me. So my end cost on the motor was 110,000 pesos, and then I drove away. And for the next year, the only thing that I had to do was go in and I registered it after 1 year for the next year, which was, that's a different process, and we'll talk about in a different video. But let me think really hard. I believe that as far as startup costs, that's just about it. I can't think of any other major items that you're going to need to consider, other than, of course, you're going to need money to go and buy food and stuff like that. But most people are going to take that into account before they get here. And I think I've pretty much covered all of your big ticket items for you there. So when you land, make sure that you have enough money for what your needs are going to be. Are you going to find a place that's furnished? Are you going to live in an unfurnished apartment? Now, of course, even if you live in an unfurnished place, you don't have to go out and buy all of this stuff all at once. I mean, so let's say you don't need to have a $10,000 or $15,000 in cash to go out and furnish your stuff. If you have a steady source of income coming in every month, which I highly recommend you have before coming to the Philippines, at least to cover your needs every month: rent, food, utilities, insurance, all of those things. You're going to need that source of money coming in every month. Now, there are guys that will they'll cash out their life savings and sell everything they're on, and they'll show up here with a lump sum. And some of them will have the six figures in the bank. But from my experience and talking to other people that have tried to do this, no matter how large your lump sum is, unless you're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars or even $1 million US, you're going to run through that money. It's without having a steady stream of income, it seems that people approach their budget with a different mindset. Whenever you see that large chunk of change in the bank, it's a lot easier to make impulsive decisions that you might regret later. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth. Once again, I'm not an expert, not trying to advise people to do a certain thing, and certainly not trying to tell someone to move to the Philippines with a $500 to $800 monthly income and say, oh, you're going to come in here and live like a king. That's not what I'm trying to say, and that's not what I said in my initial cost of living video. What I did say was that it is possible to come and live here with $500 per month once you're established. And I mean, I can prove it to you. A lot of guys here can prove it to you, but it is what it is, and you have to decide what's right for you and what level of comfort are you willing to work with. So anyway, that's it for this time. On our next video, I'm pretty sure we're getting close to going to that gym in the mountains, Tagayatay, kind of hidden up in the hills up there. I'm really looking forward to showing you guys that. Anyway, until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, take care of yourself, and plan for the future. That's all I can say. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.